Good morning, everyone. My name is MightyStream, and I'm going to do our Just for Today in a meditation for May the 2nd. The title of that meditation for today is Just Maybe. There is one thing more than anything else that will defeat us in our recovery. This is an attitude of indifference or intolerance towards spiritual principles. That comes from the basic text, page 18. When we first came to NA, many of us had great difficulty accepting the spiritual principles underlying this program, and for good reason. No matter how we tried to control our addiction, we'd found ourselves powerless. We grew angry and frustrated with anyone who suggested there was hope for us because we knew better. Spiritual ideals may have had some bearing on other people's lives, but not on ours. Despite our indifference or intolerance towards spiritual principles, we were drawn to Narcotics Anonymous. There, we met other addicts. They'd been where we'd been, powerless and hopeless, yet they'd found a way not only to stop using, but to live and enjoy life clean. They spoke of the spiritual principles that had pointed the way for them to this new life of recovery. For them, these principles were not just theories, but a part of their practical experience. Yes, we had good reason to be skeptical, but these spiritual principles spoken of by other NA members really seemed to work. Once we admitted this, we didn't necessarily accept every single spiritual idea we heard. But we did start to think that if these principles had worked for others, just maybe they'd work for us too. For a beginning, that willingness was enough. Just for today, just maybe the spiritual principles I hear spoken of in NA might work for me. I am willing, at least, to open my mind to the possibility. Let's take a moment of silence, followed by the we version of the Serenity Prayer. Moment of silence now, please. To the things that we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Just for today, please and thank you. So, I'm having some technical difficulties, so hopefully there wasn't too big of a gap after I finished reading there. I hope that it came across well. Now, we're talking about some hope here. That is what we're talking about. We're talking about how pessimistic we were, how much of a skeptic we were when we first came to the program, thinking all that good talk about these spiritual principles, right, are indispensable, honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. All that sounds good for you. But I don't have any reason to think that spiritual principles in the slightest is a serious thing or that is something that applies to me. The majority of people probably thought something like that, but maybe not in those exact words, right? I'm just imagining what someone would be feeling towards a program that says it's spiritual and not religious. There's a lot of mental hurdles, right, for us to overcome. But all of that overcoming of them comes with time. It doesn't happen overnight. And as we begin to hear, right? And it may not be that we're listening completely at every meeting, but at some point in time, we probably have sat through a first step meeting, maybe our own, and we hear people share how it was for them when they first got to Narcotics Anonymous. And we hear them share about how their lives are different. We hear them share about difficult situations that they went through and how being patient, right, helped them to not act hastily or make matters worse, right? They talk about those things. And we begin to sense that this is real. They're not just talking out of the side of their neck. This is something that they have really experienced. They've lived this. And there's a hope that ignites in us. And we think, maybe, just maybe, if I don't run away like I normally do, and I stick and stay, just maybe if I do the 90 and 90, right? Just maybe if I don't use in between the meetings and keep coming back clean, just maybe something will change in my life. And before you know it, the majority of us found that something did change. That just maybe became a real thing for us. What's your experience? Were you like that? Skeptical? And then before you knew it, you took a few suggestions, and before you knew it, you were more optimistic about the potential of this program. And now no one can tear this program away from you. You use this program as a sounding board, as a safe zone for you to come to, regroup, and go back out there in life and live as a productive member of that society where everyone is buzzing around with day-to-day activities handling their affairs. We've learned how to do that today with the help of these spiritual principles. My name is MightyStream. I've enjoyed talking to you. I hope that you will have a beautiful day on purpose.